Now, music came naturally to you. Did personal finance come naturally to you, or do you have any, misbehaving celebrity type stories in your own personal past?
Oh, so my parents would tell you in hindsight, they would have always known that I would have started working with money. I was pretty good at taking my chore money and buying baseball cards and football cards. And then on the way home, I would be trading with my brothers and grab all their good ones before we even got back. So
Okay.
I've always had a penchant for this. I'm a Capricorn as well, left-hander. So I've always been towards money focused. Um, but unfortunately, in my journey, I went from being 18, where I had a handful of baseball cards and a bad attitude, that was my net worth,
Yeah.
to waking up one day when I was 25 and I was in a debt over $100,000.
Oh,
Nothing
okay.
fun. Yeah, nothing fun. It was student
Yeah.
loans, it was some credit card debt and money to family. So I had to dig
Right.
myself out of that.
You became a financial gangster yourself, or gangsta.
It,
I'm not sure the correct
gangsta,
pronunciation.
yeah, I'll go with
When
it.
you think of that phrase, how do you describe what that means in the book using hip hop as a metaphor? What does it mean to become a financial gangster?
Financial gangster is someone who has gotten on the path for education, working towards literacy. And when you achieve your financial literacy, I would call you a full-on gangsta. In the beginning, you're just a gangster. Then you get
Right.
get raised up. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And getting off debt row,
Mhm.
I see the criminal, I don't know, the criminal connection there. What does that mean to you?
So this is a play off of Death Row Records in the 90s. That was the West Coast where Dr. Dre was at Death Row. So I was thinking, how can I be clever, bring in, the word and switching it around. So I felt personally when I was in debt over my ears, I felt imprisoned and you feel shame feelings. So debt row is when you're in debt and you need to get out of it somehow. You get and the quote that I use in the book that I still live by, Warren Buffett is generally accepted as the greatest investor of all time, the GOAT. And so, one of his famous quotes that I love, there are many, 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 but he said, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. And so,
Mm,
I got to the point where I just couldn't keep the charade going anymore. And I had to figure out how to get out of this. So, I had to stop, make a plan, wrote it down, and then execute on said plan.
mm. Give us some more examples of what might seem like personal finance mom and apple pie, but that you have framed with the hip hop parlance. What are some examples?
Oh yeah. So there is no chapters in this book, so they're called tracks. I've gone all in on the music and being
Love it.
lots of great visuals to keep it more of an experience than just rather reading a book. Chapter two is all about credit. And so I'm trying to explain how credit works, good and bad credit. Track three is about entrepreneurism, and I'm using the Jay-Z quote that he rhymed, I'm a business man. So learning about how to be an entrepreneur, because a lot of your favorite rappers or actors or other musicians are entrepreneurs. They got to go out and make things happen for themselves. And you learn all kinds of business intellect and strategies when you go out and do that.
Mm.
Fourth one is about
Go ahead.
Mo Money, Mo Problems. So there's a notorious B.I.G. one, but it's about 50 Cent, and that's one of my favorite stories in the book because it's about having a budget and not having lifestyle inflation where you're spending way more than what you're making. And when you're a hit maker and you've got $38 million coming in from tour like he had, he was living in an $800 a month rental like apartment, and he moved into the Mike Tyson mansion, which cost him, about $4 or $5 million all in one swoop. That's a
Mm.
big, big gap to fill.
As a non-follower of hip hop, I can say that the one thing that I pick up in pop culture about it is there's a lot, it seems to be a lot of conflict and rivalry and takedowns and diss tracks. How did you bring that notion into this world that there is conflict when it comes to personal finance, even if it's just competing interests on needs versus wants?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Like that is what it is. Needs versus wants. Money coming in, money going out. Um, when you're living in an Instagram kind of world, that I guess that's the way I've framed it, is that you see people that are putting up their best lives and you're like stuck here, like, oh, how am I gonna do that? So I think it's already become a conflict just with online life versus your own life and what's real and what's not real. And one of the quotes I say is, instead of trying to compare yourself or trying to keep up with the Joneses, like in America we say, or the Smiths, or the Keeping Up with the Kardashians better. Uh, the only person that you should be ever going back and comparing yourself is yourself a year before. Don't try to get stuck like I need that now. It's always about working towards it, or I got to buy a house, or I need to get married. And It's on your own timetable. And so that's where I've worked in the conflict of needs and wants and the rivalry, right? Social rivalry.
Yeah. Musical tastes change over time. I mean, you have lots of tastes in that regard. So maybe hip hop is still on your top playlist. But for a lot of people, they move from this to that to this to that. How does that connect to how we need to be thinking about age and stage when it comes to our money?
Ooh, I like that. I try to take it through understanding the basics of this, and you can be somebody that's into rappers right now, or 20 years ago, like myself, but you can learn lessons with the music as it evolves. And so one of the themes of the book is that hip hop just turned 50 years old in 2023. And
What?
so, yeah,
Wow.
yep, yep.
Wow.
You've had all this time to listen, right?
Yes. Yes.
Sugar Hill Gang,
Wow.
first hit, Sugar Hill Gang. And so I found it very interesting that hip hop was making the same mistakes that 20-year-old me was when it was 20 years old. And then when it became 30, you had guys that were starting to learn how to brand and build your own personal brands, and they started growing up with the music. And I found that fascinating,
Hmm.
the age and the stage of it.
Yeah. The other thing that I would say about hip hop, knowing literally nothing about music, is that you have to be pretty smart to both write and communicate hip hop lyrics. Unlike other things where it's like, whose boots your bed been under or whatever. They're very simple
Mhm.
notions. Hip hop is not like that. I listen to it and can hear the layers of insight and poetry that is there.
Mhm.
Is there a way we can make the case that people who listen to hip hop are smart and therefore should do smart things with their money? Or is that an overreach on my part as the parent of a 15-year-old?
It might be a little overreach, possibly. There's also a stat out there, the more that you swear, the more intellectual you are, right? You're smarter the more you swear. I've heard this
Right.
before.
Okay.
Um, no, I wouldn't just pigeonhole it only to one music genre at all. I would say it's open for interpretation.
If there was simply one thing that you wanted people to take away from your book, and I know that's choosing amongst your favorite artists, even more so than your favorite children, what would be the one tip that you would want people to finish your book having adopted or incorporated into their lifestyle?
Yeah, so the very last track of the book is called Straight Outta Compound. And one of the biggest things that you can
That's a
ever,
play on
that,
Straight
that,
Outta
that,
Compton, right?
of course you got it.
Which is a neighborhood
Bravo.
in LA. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
You can look it
Yes.
up. Yeah, you got
Yes.
it. Very nice. I want people to understand the what is compound interest. And there's a great, I think it's Albert Einstein that said, "He who understands compound interest makes it, he who doesn't pays it." Or it's the eighth wonder of the world. I think that's the actual one he did. If you can understand how compound interest works, the sky's the limit. And you'll understand that it's not right now, it's later. And you're planting seeds they're going to pay off eventually down the road, and it helps you have patience. And that's the best lesson I could possibly pass on from the book.
Yeah. Wow. Straight out of
And it's not
Compton.
just money, it's your time and it's giving back
Sure.
and all
Yeah.
these other different ways that you can do this.
It's
Yeah.
great. Drew, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Drew Boyer is a certified financial planner. He is also the author of, and I'm going to code the whole title because I love the whole title, Hip Hop X Finance. There he's showing the cover again. Become a financial gangsta. I'm saying it that way. Get off debt row and stack your cash flow.